Get ready for Tuesdays with Tiffany Lewis. Tune in at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time to be the change. Only on Clear Source Radio, where we inspire people soul to soul. Only on Clear Source Radio.
Hey guys, this is Tiffany H. Lewis with Be the Change on Clear Source Radio, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. I have special guest Taylor Tribbey with me here tonight. We're in the studio together, and we want to talk to you about WikiLeaks and about Julian Assange, and he just got arrested, and we're going to cover what is going on. So, first off, WikiLeaks is a website on the deep net, which, as you know, is just below the surface net. So it's going to release information to the public that may be considered confidential, or, you know, maybe they don't want the world to hear it or see it, or videos where people are getting shot or harmed or tortured. So that's why WikiLeaks was created. It is to encourage freedom of speech and allow us to, if we want to, look at that kind of stuff and know what's really going on in the world. We would go to WikiLeaks because that's where the information would be leaked to. So years ago, and I'm going to let Taylor give you all the details, but years ago, we've got a couple of main characters. Chelsea Manning, who was formerly Bradley Manning, worked for an intelligence agency who we're not going to name, and supposedly released over 700,000 documents that were sensitive documents about our government, about our military, and to include videos of people being tortured and killed in our military and what was happening to them. And we only knew what mainstream media told us. So WikiLeaks is an opportunity to tell you the truth. And if it weren't true, then Julian Assange and Chelsea Manning would not both be in prison right now. So Chelsea Manning may have leaked that information. Maybe she didn't. We don't know. And Julian was arrested 5 days ago. He is from Australia. He was in London. He was arrested in London for his being the co-founder of WikiLeaks. So basically, he took refuge in 2012 with the embassy to avoid extradition, and he also wanted to avoid a second extradition in Sweden for a sexual assault charge. So now he faces a U.S. conspiracy charge, or charges, and, you know, he's being named one of the largest ever leaks of the entirety of all government secrets. So they're putting that all on him or WikiLeaks. So him and Chelsea may have co-founded this. Chelsea somehow obtained the information. Julian is co-founder of WikiLeaks. Those are the facts, and here comes the story. I'm going to pass the torch over to Taylor. How are you doing, Taylor?
I'm doing good.
Hey, great to have you on the show.
All right, hello everybody. Just wanted to try to get into the basics of what has happened in London on Thursday with Julian Assange. The fact that the new Prime Minister of Ecuador who I don't know the name of, allowed the British police to arrest Julian Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy that he's been hiding at since 2012.
And maybe he's in protection. Maybe he made an arrangement with the embassy to, like it said, to avoid extradition. We think that he had an arrangement with the embassy. So, like we said, he's from Australia. He just so happened to be in London, but he had made an arrangement with the embassy to avoid extradition to the United States for conspiracy charges, and also to Sweden for assault charges. Mm-hmm. So he sits in jail right now, correct? Right,
and of course he entered the Ecuadorian embassy originally so he could avoid extradition from Sweden over the sexual assault charges.
Okay.
And of course, and the reason why he didn't want to go to Sweden is because he thought that also Sweden would extradite him into the U.S. over the charges against him for the 2012 conspiracy of the military that Chelsea Manning exposed.
Okay, so Chelsea Manning exposed over 700,000 confidential, sensitive pieces of information, data, and videos. When?
That was back in 2010.
2010. So was that when WikiLeaks was created?
Well, I'm not sure of, but
Probably close to that time.
But I just know that obviously that was the biggest thing that WikiLeaks first did about the U.S. government.
Now, and she's from the inside, guys. So she worked for a certain agency. So she had the kind of access and probably some excellent hacking skills. And maybe Julian was a financial backer, or maybe he was in a country where he could, get away with opening WikiLeaks.
Yeah.
Whatever the situation may be.
Yeah.
So she's in jail, he's in jail. Mm-hmm. And what I haven't told y'all yet is that pretty soon the government is going to be quite literally shutting down basically the internet. That's why your phone keeps wanting to update. That's why every app keeps wanting to update. They want to shut down the deep web and the darknet, which is just another freedom of speech. It's just where you go to retrieve information. And, we're talking about a journalist. Chelsea is basically being charged for being a journalist who releases information, which, if it's not true, why is she being charged and imprisoned for it? And if it is true and it's not public record, she's spent the last 10 years off and on being imprisoned. And let's talk about how brutal her imprisonment was because of her former sex before she had a gender change.
Yeah, which was back in 2013.
Okay.
And obviously, I guess apparently the military just considered it illegal because obviously she did expose private information they had, obviously.
She would have only have had access to by working for this agency.
Right.
Okay.
And, especially getting into their passwords and all that.
Sure.
But obviously, obviously it did just show corruption about war crimes that our military did, in Iraq by killing their journalists, civilians, even children too, families.
And most anybody who's ever even looked at WikiLeaks, we've seen these videos, guys. We've seen them on social media. We've seen them on Facebook. We've seen them on Twitter. We've seen people get killed on camera. Well, who is taking the risk? The journalists. The journalist is putting their own life in danger to get that data for you, to expose that for what it is. And now they're criminals because of it.
At least to the government, yes. And
Well, I mean, a lot of governments, though.
yeah, and of
US,
course, right.
Sweden, UK, Australia,
Mm-hmm.
and whomever else.
And plus, like, WikiLeaks also exposes corruption from other countries too.
Definitely.
Right. So obviously, just with the military revealance that Chelsea Manning did for WikiLeaks was like the first one about the United States, and of course, by her doing that, she, I guess, like did serve like imprisonment.
For like 7 years, right?
Right, 7 years back when Obama was president. I guess since that was like from like the 2010
2010 to 2017.
2017, and then of course Obama did like originally she was gonna serve I think about like 35 years, I think, much longer, but Obama went ahead and released her before he ended his presidential term.
Okay.
The only problem is, I mean, apparently she, during that time in imprisonment, it seems like they were just trying to get like more information about her, with Assange. So obviously that which would involve like torture by having her like naked, having her not allowed to sleep, and just like kind of like being in a cage for like hours pretty much.
So solitary confinement,
Yeah.
deprived of food, and continual torture, which anybody who knows anything about these intelligence agencies, torture is their specialty. That's how they train you so as not to break. As a spy or a journalist or whatever, they train you extensively that no matter what pressure you undergo, you will not speak. And that's where this is at right now. Chelsea Manning is refusing to testify against Julian. And she's in jail again right now over it. And Julian's in jail in another country. And they want to extradite him to the United States to face conspiracy charges. And Sweden wants to extradite him for sexual assault charges. And I'm not even sure how him and Chelsea became... Are they both equally co-founder, and co-founder? Like, how did this connection meet?
Well, I mean, the thing about, Chelsea Manning's not co-founder of WikiLeaks. That's just Julian Assange. Obviously, what Chelsea Manning did, she just had all this
she has the data.
Yeah, she just had the data and decided to give it to WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, so he can expose it.
Okay, so Julian opens a website called WikiLeaks.
Right.
And we all know that Wikipedia is not a credible source. Anybody who's ever played on the darknet knows about, I'm not going to call it by name, but I'm going to say the other aspect of Wiki, which is even further than WikiLeaks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's probably the things that WikiLeaks would even ban. But, so somehow these two meet. Now they're both in jail. And she's refusing to testify against him. She's being imprisoned. She's being tortured. And we have to touch on the gender thing for a minute because she had a gender transformation. And it's important to know, is she in a woman's prison or a men's prison? That's a very important piece here.
I don't know how they did. I don't know how they switched her from a male prison to a female prison. I do know the whole time it was a military prison. And yeah.
Because she was in the military?
Yeah, because she was in the military.
Wow, so she worked for an intelligence agency and was in the military, and she's exposing government/military secrets,
right?
If you will.
Yeah, and then obviously, and her name was Bradley, Manning, before she had the transgender change.
Okay, when was she Bradley, and when did she become Chelsea?
Oh, that was back in 2013 during...
So that was while she was in
prison?
when
she was... I have no idea how she was able to get that done.
Yeah.
I do know there was times when she did try to commit suicide in prison over the torturing, so-called enhanced interrogation that they kept doing to her. So.
Oh, I'm sure that included all kinds of lucid hallucinations and just just to be clear with my audience, I'm sure that was a trigger, and I should have warned you right there. I'm sorry. So I apologize for not giving you a trigger warning right there. One cannot commit suicide because it's not a crime, but one can take their own life by the hand of suicide. And the things that these people are being accused of now, are they really crimes though? Like, is it really a crime? A journalist has free speech. That's what the amendments are for. I mean, if you want to extradite people to the United States and have a United States Supreme Justice or Supreme Court make a ruling decision on whether they should serve time here, even if they're not from here, just because they leaked information to the internet, which the whole wide world has access to.
Right.
But it's like the U.S. took it personally or something.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, and obviously, you know, the U.S. has always been against, you know, like just revealance of like corruption information for the public. I mean, it pretty much goes back all the way to like with Upton Sinclair writing the book The Jungle about how the meat markets were just not doing safe practices. And also with like the Pentagon Papers that the Washington Post did during the Vietnam War, and you know, I mean, and that obviously
I think it was further back than that, yeah.
Yeah, and that was like before the internet, you know, existed. So, I mean, this just war against like journalists and whistleblowers has just been going on for a very long time in this country.
I believe that our first whistleblowers were exposed around 1942. Around the First World War, when people started coming out about the concentration camps and what was happening there. And now we're called whistleblowers. Even I'm called a whistleblower. And I'm not blowing any whistles. This is free information. It's not like we're paying for some subscription to download, watch, or upload something illegal. This is not, you know, this is not piracy. This is not illegal content. It's just, here's who I am. Here's what I have. Granted, Chelsea kind of had the upper hand. I mean, she works for a
military
agency and an intelligence agency. And I'm not still quite putting the piece together where her and Julian meet, but clearly that's being hidden on WikiLeaks for a reason.
Right.
Maybe if we Googled that on WikiLeaks, we'd figure out where that connection came in if they're in two different countries. There's got to be some reason. And I'm thinking that maybe he, and this is just my own personal thoughts, I'm thinking maybe he might have funded her while she was in prison for those 7 years to help her get that transgender change. And maybe that's how she became a female in a male prison, and then maybe was sent to a female prison.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
see, that part I just don't really know about. I just pretty much know the core of, like, you know, about her, and obviously the reason why she's back in prison and, like, now in Virginia is just because of refusing to, like, reveal more information about Julian Assange. And I mean, I personally believe that, you know, the government wants to try to make her lie, saying that Julian Assange, like, helped her, like, gain all these private information. But really what she's already said is that, you know, she gained all the information. She just gave it to Julian Assange just to expose of it. See, and I think the government wants her to, like, say that, oh, no, Julian Assange helped me get this information just so they can come after him, pretty much.
That would require him to be the ultimate hacker and also be her at the same time.
Yeah.
Because he would need her knowledge and his own hacking knowledge to gain access to those databases. And either way, this is freedom of speech, guys. So it's like, what is illegal about somebody expressing? You don't have to believe it. Okay? WikiLeaks is WikiLeaks. It leaks information. You do not have to believe it. You have a total choice and a complete say-so. And if you decide to believe it, and you've got all these governments coming after you, there must be some truth to it.
Yeah, and I mean, it also goes with during the Democratic primary 2016 when, WikiLeaks exposed like Hillary Clinton's emails showing proof that they were rigging the primary for Hillary Clinton and rigging it against Bernie Sanders and all the other Democrats that were also running for president.
Okay.
And it also caused like Debbie Wasserman Schultz to like step down as DNC chair, once that was revealed. So, it's...
And that's led up to a lot of laws that have changed since Trump has become president. Things have changed so much. So this is a very historical time. It's not a moment. It's like a season. This will never go down in history books, but it will always be right here for people to listen to. And this is an extremely historical time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we are caught in the middle of World War I, World War II, potentially World War III, depending on what each party knows. A person in one country and a person in another country, both in prison, with no relation to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, and also last Sunday they did have like a Julian Assange and Chelsea Manning rally, like at the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Trying to like show their supportance to both of them, saying to like free them. And then one side of the bridge was supporters of Chelsea Manning, the other side was supporters of Julian Assange, and they all like marched together at the very center of the bridge, showing that we support freeing these whistleblowers.
And I hate the term whistleblowers. Like, just because you say something, be it true or not, that's a label.
Yeah.
We live in a world where you're not allowed to shame or body shame or label anything.
Yeah,
or apparently not even allowed to be a journalist at this point.
Right, and it's the same way with Edward Snowden too, like him exposing how the government is just spying on us.
Oh gosh, yeah. Everybody knows that one, I think.
And
I would hope.
And and that's why he had to flee the United States, where he's now living in Russia.
Does Russia extradite?
Well, I mean, I don't know how he's living in Russia. Obviously, I guess he's there. I guess it seems like he's safe there since he hasn't been extradited to come here.
Okay.
And then, of course, there are also, and of course, there's still politicians that just hate him just because of that. Like I know, Mike Pompeo, has said that he wants to execute Edward Snowden.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of executions, let's talk about for a second what WikiLeaks has exposed outside of confidential data. You're a journalist, you walk up to a crowd, and you see one of our, military from the United States in another country serving our country and being beheaded.
Mm.
What's so wrong with that? Why aren't we allowed to see that?
Mm.
And I get that it's cruel and unusual punishment,
Mm-hmm.
but so is imprisoning a couple of people that I cannot seem to directly relate to each other. And I think that I don't know, I don't get to have an opinion, but the sexual assault charge in Sweden is just kind of off the wall. For accusing him of being a hacker and a whistleblower
Mm-hmm.
because he was clever enough to open up WikiLeaks because he wanted people to know the truth. Well, that's what he's doing.
The whole Swedish court allegations against him is just a whole different story. Obviously those are just sexual assaults over, I think, one or two Swedish women he did back in 2010.
Sure. Which ironically is the same year that Chelsea gets arrested.
Right. And obviously, I've watched this one video of this woman who would let him hide in her attic, and apparently she said that the reason why he didn't want to go to Sweden to face those charges is because he was afraid he would be extradited to the U.S. Obviously he's told her that he, we would like to go to Sweden just to get his name cleared off,
Yeah, certainly.
And obviously we don't know for sure if he's guilty from it, because obviously he still hasn't had the court for it. So
he hasn't had a trial, but the thing about media is they tell us what they want you to believe.
Right.
So you've got all these articles talking about so-and-so was arrested 5 days ago. This is what they've done wrong. Now, one good thing about their life, so you have what I would call a biased jury. So if, Julian were to be extradited to the United States of America, WikiLeaks is here, and we've received that information here, unless they shut it down, which either way doesn't matter at this point in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And, you look at the numbers and you look at these websites that just talk about him being arrested in general, and you become biased. You see these numbers, just like with Chelsea Manning. You see 700,000, sensitive documents and data and pieces of information were revealed. You see numbers, and people are so hypocritically judgmental.
Oh, yeah.
It's a thing here in the United States to say that we are guilty until proven innocent.
Right.
And that's a fact.
Oh, yeah.
And there's something that happened in that 7 years where Chelsea ran for Senate, was in prison for 7 years, was tortured, somehow had a sex change. And prior to that, in 2010, or maybe sooner, WikiLeaks came out. And it's like the United States is offended that we were allowed to see it. Like countries are smarter than our country. Mm-hmm. It's okay if they see it somewhere else. Because none of the other countries that want to extradite him have anything to do with conspiracies or leaking of information or journalism. Mm-hmm. And we've just learned that there is no precedence on a case like this. There is no precedence, meaning there is no Roe versus Roe or whatever, two examples you want to use. He is a precedent-setting case, and so is Chelsea Manning.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
They're going to set the bar, and it's going to change everything for whistleblowers and journalists and media.
Right, and
I mean, real media, not
right.
mainstream media, but media like what we're talking about right now, real stuff.
Right, and it's not just say whistleblowers and journalists here in America. It's also whistleblowers and journalists in other countries.
Because it's going to set a precedence. Because
it's
so many countries involved.
It's a precedent to the whole world to to not say anything bad about the United States. Really, pretty much, even if it's truthful. And to just see so many people hate Julian Assange just because apparently he reveals the truth no matter what side benefits from it or what side what side gets
offends whoever.
Gets offense for it. I mean, obviously, say the military truth corruption really upsetted the people on the right and the Republicans.
Sure.
And then when he exposed the DNC Clinton emails, that just upsetted people on the left and the Democrats. So it's kind of it's now that he has all this hate from so many people, so many sides, even though if it's all truthful, it's they don't really have any principles that obvious about the First Amendment and freedom of the press, pretty much.
Right. And that's the thing about freedom of speech. You're allowed to say whatever you want, no matter how many people's feelings it hurts. WikiLeaks, you have to really go out of your way to seek out that information. So if it's not illegal for us to seek out that information and watch these videos of people being brutally hurt and assaulted, who have been held captive in another country, it seems to me it's all just some distraction from what's really going on. Okay, because why is everything on the media focused on these two people in the last 5 days. And why is it so offensive if it's not true? And how much deeper does it go if it is true? I mean, we could be uncovering lots of conspiracy theories and take them from theories and make them, whether you believe them or not, just expose them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's a dangerous thing for me to say out loud right now, but I mean, it's a choice. You don't have to believe what you read.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do we believe everything we read on social media? No. Why is the U.S. so offended by it? A conspiracy charge. Conspiracy involves 3 or 4 or more people.
Mm-hmm.
So where's the other one? You've got Julian. You've got Chelsea. Who's the third party?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess you could say Edward Snowden.
Okay, who's Edward Snowden and what's his role in this?
Well, he exposed the fact that the government has just been spying over us, which obviously goes against the Fourth Amendment, and that pretty much went all the way back of with the Patriot Act, where our government can just pretty much know pretty much what we're doing online and pretty much what we're always doing.
Yeah, we're always being watched.
Right.
Can we go there for a minute? Because there's something that's been bothering me since it became legal, which I think you and I have personally had conversations about. But the United States of America just came out with this thing called a real ID, in which you are to literally go to your local DPS and or DMV, whatever it's called in your state, and physically hand over your driver's license, and you have to carry around this thing called a real ID.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because what's not real about your ID? But that's aside.
Mm-hmm.
It's got facial recognition. It's got a thumbprint. It's got your fingerprints. It's
got
your DNA on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it can spot you in every single street light, every camera, anywhere ever. Google Earth.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the possibilities are endless. Why is that okay?
Yeah.
You got drones flying around trying to convince us that they're aliens because they're an unidentified flying object.
Mm-hmm.
They're drones.
And same way with
satellites.
Yeah, and our
tapping.
Our smartphones. I mean, obviously,
They listen to everything that we do.
Yeah.
And that's been going on since a long, long, long time ago.
Yeah.
And the presidents then didn't like it, so it just seems so hypocritical. Like, why is the U.S. government allowed to do that to us against our will and force us? I mean, we are almost jailable at this point.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot board a plane, you cannot board a train, you cannot travel anywhere, you cannot do anything without physically handing over your driver's license and submitting your DNA and basically your blood and urine sample. I mean, I am exaggerating quite a bit. That's how extreme it is.
Oh. I mean, it will eventually get that way.
Facial recognition. I mean, it's like you're being chipped. It's like the mark of the beast.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll put computer chips inside everybody in the future.
That's what I'm saying. and who's to say they're not while we're getting our facial recognition scan done for this real ID, and that limits us from traveling anywhere. Like, you literally can't board a plane now because of this stupid real ID. And it became effective. And granted, I'll give you the fact that we've had 2.5 years forewarning notice that this was going to become a law. Nobody fought for it not to. So now it's a requirement of the law. Not jailable yet, but the keyword being yet.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah, it is scary.
So why are they allowed to do that? I mean, I don't think any of us care anymore. We all know our phones are tapped. None of us really care anymore because we've known our phones were tapped since cell phones came out. So.
Yeah.
And house phones before that.
I don't know. And I mean, obviously, I think, largely reason is because I think it benefits a lot of businesses. I mean, a lot of businesses pretty much want to know who somebody is before they hire them. Want to know what their employee is.
Checks, but
oh yeah.
I mean, we're talking about spying. What makes a whistleblower bad versus spying on our private life against our consent.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we have to forcibly agree to give up? I mean, just the asinine real ID. We have to give up our real physical identification only to gain a piece of laminated paper with some card and some chip that's called a real ID. Like, who's real? Am I real? Are you real? Is that real? I mean, because that's how stupid that is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could have named it anything else, but the fact that they named it from driver's license to real ID is really awakening.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. All right, so you've got lots more to say, and I've got lots more that I want to learn, and hopefully our audience is super engaged at this point.
Yeah.
This is a great conversation. This is important, and we need to be discussing this, and I'm going to try very hard not to ask why so much, because it perturbs me to no end.
Mm-hmm.
to not understand why, and it also perturbs me with my history in law enforcement when I know to have a conspiracy charge you need to have at least 3 or 4 or more people. You cannot be a conspiracy theorist
Mm-hmm.
with only 1 or 2 people.
Yeah.
So what are they hiding? Because WikiLeaks isn't allowed to expose it, or maybe they did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I expect other people to get arrested if U.S. gets that precedence versus UK. Whoever gets that precedence is going to affect, and I guarantee you, U.S. is going to win.
Yeah.
Because, he sought refuge with the embassy in UK. He had to have bargained some kind of a deal.
Yeah, and I guess you'll have this court case next month.
And that's just for not showing up to court, right?
Well, I think of deciding what they're going to do with them. If he'll get
UK gets to decide. Okay.
Right. If he gets extradited, like, say, possibly to the UK or to Sweden or who knows what. Just like with Chelsea Manning, there's no telling how long she'll stay in jail. If she just continues and refuses to,
testify against them.
Right, that.
You don't have to. Like, that's a
right.
law. You have the right not to testify or incriminate yourself. What is the point of even having these amendments?
Oh, yeah, and due process.
Yeah, what's the point?
I don't know, it's just...
if you're going to torture somebody to death and they're still not talking, hello, they're not going to.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a very experienced military personnel who works for some high-level intelligence agency who has been specifically trained for long time and been exposed to torture and so many different ways of torture. You can't break that person.
No.
Not even with hallucinogens, because they're trained to work through those.
Right. I just think...
That's crazy.
I just think, obviously... all of this, corruption is pretty much what benefits, like, the status quo and the establishment, of pretty much our nation, the way it's been for a very long time, which is just kind of became like a fascist type of government in a way. Of just pretty much being an empire where we can just go to whatever country we want, invade the country, take whatever resource we want, and they just say it was because of terrorism, like we're on terror.
Everything's terrorism.
Yeah, and then of course, and just to like control us, here in our own country.
The one world order. We're gonna go there, aren't we?
Yeah. Hope not. Unless, it's just. Unless something can happen, with like these like current like with our politics really, and also just depending on like what the next election will be for 2020 and just
that's a changing thing
going forward.
I've never known a president not to get 2 terms, so 2020 is not going to change our president.
Well, it also just depends on, like, the people. If a lot of people...
If you believe that's true, though.
Right, you know.
If you think it's not rigged.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just, obviously it's just so many broken pieces that, so much like limited broken pieces of the puzzle of trying to figure out, like, how to fix this, and, you know.
I don't think it can be fixed. I think that we are moving towards something I talk about all the time, a one world order.
Yeah.
That is where everybody is under the complete control of one order.
Right, and
whatever you call that.
Yeah, I mean, that's highly possible, but I mean, I really hope that doesn't happen, you know, kind of like, say, like with the Matrix, for example, or just like all batteries.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I do know.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we live in a matrix, and that's a whole other conversation. I don't really want to throw our listeners off, so let's will you explain more why this is so important? Why are we talking about this? What happens to WikiLeaks? Like, are we not allowed to view the information? Do they shut the website down? People have been arrested. Okay, what happens now?
I mean, I don't know. It's just, I mean, obviously, I don't know really what's going to happen. I do know what the U.S. establishment does want to happen. I mean, obviously, they just want, you know, Julian Assange to be just locked up where he can't do any of this stuff anymore. Yeah, pretty much forever.
Don't you think he's done his part already? I mean, I didn't mean to interrupt, but don't you think he co-founded WikiLeaks with somebody? Where's the founder, first off? Did they shut the website down, second off?
Yeah, I mean...
And did people really believe that we can't find that on the darknet?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, obviously, there's no way Julian Assange could just, like, run this all by himself.
No,
because, I mean, you're right, because obviously, like, WikiLeaks still has, like, their own social media where they can, like, you know, make tweets and comments and posts about...
Have that huge fans,
right.
Because some of us want to know the truth.
Right, and seeing that's really the mystery of it, like, who's also behind it, and I think that's what the U.S. government wants to find out.
Okay, so
and I think, they're going to
figure out who is behind it.
Yeah, they want to find out everybody who's behind it, and I think, you know, if they're able to extradite Julian Assange to the U.S., you know, I bet they're going to try to, like, I bet they're going to try to voice information of, like, who all else is part of WikiLeaks, who helps them, and, you know...
Well, it's called WikiLeaks with an S on the end, plural.
Right.
Okay, so it's not WikiLeaked.
Right.
And we know he's co-founder, not founder.
Right.
So we know there are other people involved.
Oh, yeah.
If, you know, Chelsea Manning is willing to be imprisoned and tortured again for at least another 7 years, why on earth do you think that, you know, Julian would break? All he did was create a website. Last time I checked, that wasn't a crime.
No, I mean,
that's the craziest part of this.
Right, and the fact that obviously, you know, he just gets information and exposes it. It's not like he's...
Yeah, he obtains it from Chelsea and other sources.
Right.
And that's really making me, like, curious about who is the founder. There's got to be... Whoever founded it, you know, founded it. And he's nothing, he's just a co-founder, which means it wasn't even his idea. He just invested in it. It was like, oh man, that's a really good idea, so let's do this. And then he somehow gains contact with several journalists.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, whistleblowers and people like Chelsea Manning. And I mean, Chelsea's already gone to prison for him once for 7 years. First as a man, and then somehow while in prison, 3 years into that 7-year sentence, becomes a full female and gets transferred to a woman's prison. And that's confusing enough on its own. It seems like there's a lot of, like, distractions.
Right. And then, of course, there's also, like, say, like, with the Democrats, they believe that, I guess, like, with Russiagate, they believe that Russia, like, was able to hack into, like, the Hillary Clinton and DNC emails and give it to WikiLeaks. There's also, like, that kind of conspiracy that still hasn't been proven. I mean, it's just as a result of, like, so many sides, so many people hate him because of, of what he co-founded.
Why do they hate him for co-founding a website when he's not the one who obtained the information?
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
It's like somebody sending me an email and me forwarding it to someone else.
Yeah, I mean, and see,
how can you hate that person?
Well, I mean, obviously he started it, and I think they believe he pretty much knows everybody that works for WikiLeaks that obviously they and we don't know about.
But what's so wrong about... Again, we all have a choice, guys. Look up WikiLeaks. Watch a video of someone getting shot. I mean, who's to say that's even a real video and it's not photoshopped and it's not a snuff film? I mean, it's up to each one of us to decide what is real and what is not.
Yeah.
But when you've got the media tearing people apart like this, this leads to a biased system where, people are being judged before even standing trial.
Right.
And that's a problem. Yeah. I have absolutely strong feelings that he's going to be extradited to the U.S. because there is no precedence set.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going to be the one they make an example out of.
Yeah, it's
and
really...
all they did was build a website.
Right, and it's pretty much to scare other journalists around the world to not,
That's not going to scare anybody, though.
To not co-bind, like, say, like a network that can reveal truth of corruption.
No. I mean, what if you just see an investment opportunity? Nobody said that. I mean, we're talking about 2010. The internet wasn't even invented for long at that point. I mean, the internet is not that old. Who knew which way it was going to take off, or what was going to come out of it, or what was going to turn out because of it, or what was going to be exposed or whatnot. I mean, it's not like he maliciously, intently created or co-founded a created website where information could be leaked. And did he personally leak it? Did he personally type it?
Well, I mean, I'm sure when he started out WikiLeaks, he must have. But, I mean, obviously... I think obviously it seems like it's just grown so much that
these people want the truth, like
right. That I bet there's just so many people that work that have like put in like so much work into it now, where it's just so well known and so feared about now through through the establishment and through our governments.
Sure. But, I mean, why give us free will, free speech? Why give us the right to know and then imprison us for knowing? Or taking part of helping other people know.
I know, that's the thing.
This is so crazy.
Right.
It's like mind-blowing.
I know, and that's the thing, it's like, so many like people that support like WikiLeaks and Julian Assange just revealing truth.
Totally.
Right. It's not that they like him as a person.
And even if it's not true, they're just supporting the idea that we are. Here is something. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, and of course I know there's some people that don't believe in everything that WikiLeaks,
it's good to be skeptical.
Posts about. But I do know but obviously there is still truth that they post about, and it seems like the truth is pretty much, the problem of like why he's in trouble. Same way with Chelsea Manning.
Okay.
So obviously it's like, it's really just a result that, that the establishment or government just like, wants, all like corruption that's done to be silenced, where it's like people don't know about it. It's just so it doesn't shake up the status quo.
And it's always been the goal: silence people.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how much of this has to do with Chelsea having been a former military, former intelligence agency worker, or whatever. I wonder how much of that has to do with this.
Mm-hmm.
Because why would they just give somebody that kind of knowledge?
Yeah. I mean, same way with Edward Snowden. I mean, obviously, he's living in Russia because, you know, he can't come back to the U.S. since...
He can't be extradited.
Yeah, because so he can't be extradited, and that way... And he can't come back to the U.S. because he'll be prosecuted, too, of his whistleblowing, too.
I don't think that... Why is that a crime? It's not a crime.
Right, it shouldn't be a crime, but obviously it's not. It's something that, you know, shakes up, you know, the establishment, the status quo, and just and pretty much the elitists, even like the rich too, that pretty much run this country the way it is for a very long time.
Yeah.
And
this all goes back to the one world order.
Oh yeah.
You've got the top 2 elite %. You've got us normal human beings who are only allowed to see 4% of the actual internet and everything that it is comprised of. You've got the deep web, which is just, you know, a notch lower. That's where you're going to find things like WikiLeaks and videos and suicides and things like that. And then you've got a darker market, you know, the black market or whatever. But
yeah, and then of course
none of those things are illegal.
Right, and then of course in the mainstream media, obviously the reason why they're so against like whistleblowers and Julian Assange is because obviously what they do is just pretty much serve the establishment. You know.
Yeah, they have a script. I mean, they're scripted.
Pretty much.
And they're, you know, this is ad lib, but they're scripted to say what they're told to say. And they're sellouts for doing that.
Yeah, definitely. And especially the fact that, you know, how they pretty much have been silenced, and also pretty much more kind of like in support of like repealing net neutrality of the internet, which makes the internet...
That means that they feared their own life, so they've been threatened or something by somebody.
Where it's like, which pretty much makes the internet like a free and open, fair place to like, for everybody to just speak out pretty much, you know, have a voice. Yeah, to have a voice pretty much. And also really benefits like democracy too, like with a fair open internet too.
Sure.
So it's like it's also to like just lessen, you know, truth, to lessen democracy, and to like, you know, pretty much just have more control over, you know, what people can know about pretty much. So, and also it's also to help, you know, big businesses too. So
yeah, corporations.
You know, right.
See, it's just kind of mind blowing. I mean, if the smart component, the smart leader, the more intelligent party, you know, they would ignore and blow off these whistleblowing allegations and call them snuff films. Like, wouldn't that be the smarter move? But the fact that they're fighting so hard to imprison these people, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
And it makes it more believable.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like a scary age to be a journalist. In general, really.
But you know, journalists have become braver too, because we know that we take a chance at getting shot at. We know that we're risking our lives at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm going to choose my words carefully here, but we know that with everything that we discuss openly, whether it be on air or televised or whatever outlet is used, there's always like 100% chance, or at least a 50% chance, that A, we're being listened to, B, we're being traced, C, we're being tracked. We could be in danger just for even having this conversation, but that doesn't scare people because there's nothing illegal about talking about it. So with this entire, Julian situation, Chelsea situation, they're being held against their will, in prison for something that's not illegal. And I think that bothers me more than anything else. And being tortured.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're talking about solitary confinement, which is you're confined to a cell that's no bigger than a closet, 23 hours a day if you're lucky enough to get like 1 hour a day outside of yourself.
I know. I mean, obviously, it's like they're just willing to do whatever they can to just, pretty much like have all this like truth-telling, exposure, like silenced, pretty much.
So that's the end goal, you think?
Oh yeah, at least for the establishment.
Okay.
And and I guess just with the status quo and of our government right now.
Okay. So the end goal is to silence people, but why silence them if it's not true? And that's kind of a rhetorical question. I'm sorry if you're asking that because we both know the answer to that. Like, the fact that they're speaking out so loudly about being against it, you're just validating it further that it is true.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the reason why they're scared of it is because it is true, really. I mean, you always hear about all kind of different crazy conspiracy theories, like from all kind of different like medias and online, and it seems like they don't care about going after that. The things that they do care about getting after is obviously
somebody's got something.
What's really being exposed of truth that goes against their narrative.
But the problem is it was already exposed. I mean, I guess that's my problem with it.
Yeah, I mean...
It was already exposed.
Yeah,
so
and...
you can't come after them 12 years later and be like, oh, you exposed this one thing about me,
Well, obviously...
19 years later.
I know, and see, that's the thing. It's been exposed. People know about it already.
It's a long time.
And really, this is to show the world to, like, not do this again, really. Because if you do it again, we'll come after you. Just like how we came after Chelsea Manning and Julian Assange.
I don't think that's going to deter whistleblowers one bit. Will it deter ordinary people who might feel kind of slightly guilty that they're playing on the deep web or looking at WikiLeaks? Sure, because you're obviously being traced at that point. Is that a deterrent? Yes. But, yeah, I think it's unfair what's going on. And anyway, guys, we are just about out of time. So would you like to say anything else? Any more key points that you want to point out to our audience tonight? I'm
also going to show my support with Julian Assange during Autism Awareness Rally in Austin. That'll be, let's see, I think that should be like this coming Friday, or maybe next Friday. Yeah, I think it's next Friday because apparently there's a lot of there's pretty much a lot of speculation and belief from people that knew him thinks that he has autism spectrum, which is also a really Asperger's syndrome. And of course, and I also have that too. So I'll just be like showing free Aspie like Julian Assange. So I mean, obviously, I'll be doing that to show my support and just pretty much just on my social media, like on Facebook, Taylor Tribbey, just been just exposing if you support Julian Assange and Chelsea Manning to be in jail, then obviously you support the First Amendment and freedom of speech and freedom of the press to be in jail too. So,
right.
Yeah.
And also not to incriminate oneself.
Oh yeah.
That's important.
Mm-hmm.
But well, thank you so much. We are out of time. thank you so much for being here with me tonight. I've had a wonderful time with you. And this is Taylor Tribbey and Tiffany H. Lewis on Be the Change on Clear Source Radio, iHeart, and Spotify. Everybody, please have a wonderful evening, and I will probably talk to you again Friday, this coming Friday, April 19th, 2019, and that will be Decoding the Unknown at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Clear Source Radio. Thanks y'all for tuning in. Have a good night.
Are you ready to be inspired? Are you ready to make positive changes in your life? Tune in to Be the Change, live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.